Welcome to the Handcrafted podcast, the business of making things. I'm Paul, founder of Philadelphia Table Company and the Handcrafted Network, and I believe great craftsmanship deserves great business strategy. This podcast is for makers who want to build not just great products, but a thriving business. Each episode will dive into the mindset, systems, and skills that turn craft into success. All right, guys, welcome back to the Handcrafted podcast. Hope everybody has been doing well. Hopefully everyone has been staying warm and safe and getting your work done and all of that sort of stuff. I just wrapped up a breakfast meeting with one of my mentors, and I want to just share some of the insights and a little story about the things that we had talked about on today's podcast episode. But first, reminder, the podcast is brought to you by the Handcrafted Network. Handcrafted Network is an online community of professional and semi-professional woodworkers and makers who are all collaboratively working together to grow their businesses. I've created a framework and coursework and classroom section in there as well for you to be able to learn how to do different things like pricing and shipping and all of that sort of stuff. We also do group calls every other week where we get to dive in and ask questions. The last group call was absolutely amazing. It was super fun. It was a blast. The other thing we've been doing that lately that's been really, really popular is we do website audits. So if you're working on a website or you have a website and you're like totally not sure what should change or how to optimize it, in the group, there's a very easy way. You join the group and then you share Roast My Website, and my marketing person, Jim, will tear your website to pieces, which is a good thing. You want him to unload on you. You want him to tell you all the things that you were doing wrong. He did that to me and really helped tighten up my website and helped a lot with conversions. So if you're interested in that, that's a new feature. It's something we're doing in the community. And a lot of people have been taking advantage of it and have seen a lot of return on those changes. All right, so, and if you are interested in joining, it's just thehandcraftednetwork.com, or send me an email if you're curious, paul@thehandcraftednetwork.com. I also want to say I got a overwhelming number of emails and notes this past week of people thanking me for the podcast and encouraging me to do this. So that is super awesome, super helpful. One of the reasons why I love doing this and started doing this is I just wanted to help people and share some of the little mistakes and lessons I've learned in hopes of you not making those same mistakes, or maybe you get to where I am or beyond where I am much quicker, which would be awesome. Or maybe you're beyond where I am and just have some sort of things that you're listening to that, you just need a little help and support on. So with that said, let's dive into today's podcast and one of the themes. So one of the topics we had talked about, I meet with, as you guys know, I talk about this all the time. I have several mentors in my life, several different people who help me with decisions, who help me through tough times, and who really help connect some of the dots for me. It's like just incredible people who I can lean on and ask questions about, and yeah, I try to make a point, and it's never about, for those of you guys who are looking for a mentor, it's never really about going to the person and be like, hey, will you be my mentor, right? I think that's kind of a weird way of looking at it. It's just people that have come into my life that I have expressed interest in me and have wanted to help and support, and people that I've felt comfortable asking questions about, people I look up to, people that are doing something a little bit different than me. And so I highly recommend trying to find people like that in your world. It could be all kinds of different people. For me, I've been trying to find a lot of, I have different mentors in different spaces, but a lot of mine are business owners. And today, the mentor that I met with, I had brunch with him or breakfast with him. He's a little hard to pin down. He is my original landlord who owns my warehouse. Not my original, but the landlord who owned my warehouse. He ended up selling me my warehouse, which is amazing. He has an incredible golf cart supply company, and he's just another business person. He's been doing it for, I think he told me, like 35 years or something today. And yeah, so he just has a lot of general business wisdom. Of course, it's not similar in industry to what I'm doing, but a lot of things are very similar, which I thought is cool. And it's always great to get other people's perspectives that are outside the industry. And I went to him with just kind of a few things. We just sat down to catch up, talk about life, and talk about a few of the other things that are kind of going on with the business. And yeah, led to this one conversation. So the main topic that I want to talk about today is being a commodity. You don't want to be a commodity. My mentor's name is John, so I'm just going to reference him by name, John. So John and I sat down, and I was telling him about a problem that I'm going through, and I'm going to share the problem with you guys too, so you can get a good understanding of it and give you a little bit of point of reference. So we're working with a big corporate client. Some of you guys who are in the group know who the corporate client is. I'm not going to share their name throughout the internet. But anyways, we're with a big corporate client. The project is down in Texas, and we are up in Philadelphia. So coordinating delivery and shipping and all of that stuff, getting there has been a challenge and has been tough to navigate. So we were brought on by a third-party firm who hired us, basically a furniture purchaser, purchased the pieces, connected us with this big corporate client, and it was a great ticket value. I think it was like $100,000 job, which was great. And of course, when I took it, I was like, this is absolutely amazing. But what ended up happening was the clients ended up booking and we knew from the beginning that this was a project that had to be delivered in mid-February. We knew that timeline, and we had an idea, semblance of it being kind of a loose timeline. And whenever we do these sort of projects, construction's almost always behind. The construction is never ahead. So about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, they come back to us and they tell us that they are having a Super Bowl party on what was yesterday, so Thursday, whatever the heck day that was, and basically pushed the entire projected project delivery date up a week and made it so there was now a mandatory delivery time, as opposed to being like, hey, we're going to get this in, we're doing a soft opening. It was a hard opening. So what happened was they started pinning us up against the wall, telling us that there was this hard deadline. If I knew this hard deadline existed from the beginning, I likely would not have committed to the job, or I would have been very clear about whether we could or could not make that specific deadline. So as a result, it's a big corporate client. I go, hey, team, we can either choose to, and I was talking to my ops director, and I was like, hey, look, we can either choose to say, no, we're not doing that, or we can choose to say, let's step up and let's get it done. So it's a big corporate client. You want to impress them. So what we did was we stepped up and we got it done. We said, okay, cool, let's get this stuff delivered. So we were able to push manufacturing ahead, so we were able to deliver ahead by a week. The only problem was there were bases that we were sourcing from elsewhere. Those were also being custom fabricated, also had to push their timeline too. They did push their timeline and inevitably got the pieces done in time, but the freight shipping did not get there in time for this party. So I had to wake up early for a phone call to try to sort out a game plan, because the tabletops were there, but the bases weren't there for the party. And again, this is a big client. We had a call. The party was Thursday. We had a call at 7:30 in the morning, trying to sort out all of these plans. And the corporate client was not happy. The purchaser was not happy either. And what ended up happening was they felt pinned against the wall. They started making unilateral decisions, hiring somebody else locally there to make bases, and are going to potentially charge us back for that cost. However, we're probably going to fight that on that, because we didn't choose that decision. I would have chose something else to do that was a little bit less expensive. They just didn't include us in that decision. Anyways, so I was explaining this whole story to John. He was like, dude, what's going on? Blah, blah. I was like, I was about to burn the business down yesterday. I'm sure many of you guys have had that feeling. I was like, I've been dealing with this nightmare of a project. They're in Texas, so I have to send someone there. All of the bases are still on a freight truck. They're not even going to arrive until 5 days after this event. And now I'm going to have to either fly down or coordinate someone from my team to fly down to reassemble this stuff, yada, yada. And it's just been a total nightmare. And John goes to me, he goes, I know the problem. You are being seen as a commodity. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're being seen as a commodity. They're hired you to do something. They're not seeing the value and the worth of what you do as a business. And he knows me personally. He goes, Paul, I know what you guys do as a business. This is not what you do. What you do is you do great customer service, you do great experience, and what they're expecting you to do is outside of the things that you excel at. I mean, you guys are great, obviously, at making furniture. You're good at hitting delivery timelines, but you're not being able to deliver this level of service that you guys do that make your thing special. So they're not willing to say, hey, it's okay, no big deal. What you guys do is incredible. Like, we know we put this unreasonable timeline on you, yada, yada. Any one of our other clients that we actually work with are usually flexible with that. They go, hey, cool, we get it. Like, we're changing the timeline on you, but we love what you're doing, and you guys are special and you guys are different. So commodity just means like you're one of everybody else. So for them, we were just a vendor. We were just the Philadelphia table company from Philadelphia who made them tables that had to be delivered by a specific time. We weren't the same Philadelphia table company that people come to us time and time again for what we do best, which is customizing, which is communication, which is level of service, which is, reaching out, client communications, and warm, friendly approach to doing furniture. Like, they weren't coming to us for that. They were coming to us for a specific thing. So we were a commodity to them. And because of that, they were able to just throw this weight around and say, hey, we're big client A. Sorry, this isn't working, and forcing us to do one thing, right? Because they would have been like, well, if you can't do this, we're going to go to somebody else. And that's not what you want. You want somebody who's going to be like, well, it's a bummer that you can't do this, but we want to work with you so bad, we're willing to accept that, right? And for us, I'm sure we were just a number on a page to them. They didn't see like the actual value of what it is that we're bringing. And even when the pieces are in there and look incredible, I don't even know if they're going to appreciate it then too, because there's a bunch of other companies. I'm sure a bunch of you guys listening to this could have executed the same thing and maybe have executed it better. I don't know. So John was like, hey, let me tell you a story of what he went through personally. And so I'm going to share that story with you guys here. And, although it's a completely different business, it helped open my eyes to sort of the situation that I was in. So he said that he sells golf carts. So he had a particular client that he had worked with for years and years, a particular country club. He's worked with them for, I think he said probably like 10 years or so, and had always worked with like the owner of the company, and they've been supplying them golf carts for 10 years, for a very, very long time. The company recently restructured. They hired a new CEO. And so John had to then make his pitch again. He had to go in and be like, hey, we do the golf carts, blah, blah, blah. So what he did is he just went in and assumed he had the deal, because he was like, I've been working with these guys for so long. He went in, gave his spiel and said, hey, yeah, you know us. We've been here for a long time, blah, blah, blah. And, walked away, feeling confident. Hey, I got the deal. He gets a call a week later. He said he's out to dinner with his wife, gets the call, and it's the CEO. The CEO goes, hey, John, just want to let you know we're going to your competitor. John was on the floor. This is a huge account for him. He couldn't believe it. He goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, we just, we were looking at the numbers and we decided that we need to go somewhere else. John said, I'm going to call the owner, and he is going to call you, and I guarantee you're going to call me back in 3 hours, because John wasn't going to take no for an answer. So John then called the owner, talked to the owner, because the owner knew his level of service. He knew what he was. To the owner, John was a commodity, but to the CEO, John was. To the new CEO, John was just a number on a page. So John talked to the owner. The owner then called the CEO, and the CEO then called John back. And John was like, the lesson that he wanted to share to me was that what he should have been doing is he should have been bragging about all the things he was doing. One of the things they do is like golf cart service. On average, he said golf cart companies, or like golf courses, have maybe a 5% down rate. And he was like, for you guys, how much do you think your down rate is? He had them at a 0% down rate, because he had people in the field who were there maintaining their golf carts. He had somebody there going above and beyond to make sure that they never had any issues. He was able to replace things as needed. He did custom colors and all of these sorts of hands-on things that the other guy didn't do. They actually even owned another country club, and he worked out a deal with the other country club to make sure that they weren't out of golf carts when there was an overlap. So he worked out a big deal with Yamaha, who he works for, to be able to keep the golf carts there. And that guy, that CEO, didn't know that. That CEO didn't know any of the services that he offered. He didn't know the white glove level that he was able to offer. So that CEO made a decision not to hire John, because he saw John as a commodity. So the moral of the story is, all of you guys, the last thing you want to be seen is a commodity. And John was like, you know what the problem is? You worked for a corporate client. He's like, don't do that anymore. That's not what you do. That's not what you're good at. Unless you want to be a bottom of the barrel or a way to do it, wait for them to come to you and be impressed with what you're doing, as opposed to being like, hey, you offer X for X dollar. Let's make the deal. So the moral of the story is making sure you're selling what it is that you are actually selling. Is your experience different? How is what you're doing different than somebody else's? So, for example, the other day yesterday I got an email from a client that said, "Hey, your price is a little higher than this price," and I was like, "You're right," and I realized it's because I do like a Loom video, trying to do the sale. And so what I did was I doubled back. I said, hey, look, I totally understand if budget is a concern. If you want to go with this company, that's great. You can totally go with them, and I'm sure you'll be happy. But with us, this is what we do differently. This is why our pricing is higher. This is why I believe what we do is better. But again, if it's a budget thing, I totally understand if this is really where you want to be. And so in that way, I was able to like sort of show my hand. I was able to be like, hey, this is actually what it is. Like if we're you got to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, right? What kind of experience is this other company offering? And if that's fine with you, then great, go with that company. But if you're looking for something that's better, or you're looking for something that's above and beyond, then we're the company for you. One of the things I say often because we do a lot of hospitality stuff, is like, we're not going to be the cheapest, but we're going to be the best. And I'm going to explain to you how we're going to be the best. We're going to be there with a level of service. If something happens, we're there to fix it. We're going to be the ones that are always making sure we're delivering it on time. We're going to have very clear communication. We're going to flag things as issues come up. We're going to keep you updated on the entire production and manufacturing of this stuff. And we're going to be there and be your support partner through this. You're not just purchasing by, getting delivered, and see you later. Well, we're going to genuinely care about what you're doing. And that goes a long way. And people are willing to pay for that, and some people aren't. So what you need to do is you need to find the people that are willing to pay for the things there, and people who are willing to pay for what you are willing to offer. All right, guys, so I hope this was helpful for you. I hope my pain point and John's pain point were helpful to you. And just know that this is a thing that everybody gets to work through, and it's just part of the biz. All right, guys, talk to you later. Peace.